Teaching was never my plan, and neither was pumping gas. But life has a way of breaking even the most careful plans into jagged pieces. I took the job at Red Earth Gas and rest stopped the same week my last thread of stability snapped. My sister passed. Cancer, the kind that doesn't give you time to bargain or breathe. Her passing left a void, not just in the family but in me. I couldn't handle the sympathy texts, the casseroles, or the well-meaning coworkers who whispered her name like it might summon a ghost. So I quit my job. Left Salt Lake behind. Took a Greyhound that coughed its way south, then west, until even the cacti looked surprised to see a human. The listing had been simple. Night shift attendant, remote location, room provided. Reliable vehicle preferred. Must be okay with solitude. Bonus pay for. Compliance. That last word should have raised flags, but at the time, I didn't care. I wanted out. Away from people, from memory, from everything. The gas station was Nowhere, Utah. That's not a real place, but it might as well be. The desert stretched forever in every direction, cracked like old skin and humming with heat even at night. No neighboring towns. No cell signal. GPS gave up a mile out and told me to proceed on instinct. When I arrived, the building looked dead. Faded red letters spelled out Red Earth, half burned out. The structure sagged like it had secrets in its foundation. A single humming freezer buzzed inside, full of off-brand sodas and jerky sticks. The guy behind the counter, Mr. Granger, looked older than the building. His skin was leathered, sun-creased, and his eyes didn't blink often. He gave me a nod like I was expected. "You showed," he said. "Most don't." He showed me the back room where I'd be staying. A cot, a fridge, a microwave, a stack of old paperbacks. No TV. No Wi-Fi. A cracked window that looked out onto a dust field where nothing grew but bones and cigarette butts. "You'll learn the rhythms," he said. "Everything's manageable if you follow the rules." He handed me a laminated card, yellowed, stiff, and smudged at the corners. 12 lines. Each numbered. Each simple, but deeply wrong. I read the first few aloud. 1. Don't sell gas after 11:03 p.m. 2. If someone knocks but doesn't cast a shadow, do not open the door. 3. Always restock pump number 6 at 4:44 a.m. Wear gloves. I laughed, thinking it was some local hazing tradition. He didn't laugh with me. "People think the desert's empty," he said, voice thin. "But it isn't. It just keeps its tenants quiet." That night, I slept in the back room. The cot was lumpy and the desert was louder than I expected. Coyotes, maybe. Or whine through broken stone. But in the middle of the night, I swear I heard knocking. 3 soft raps against the station's front door. Followed by silence. And then, one more knock. And the sound of something breathing, on the wrong side of the glass. I pulled the blanket tighter around me and shut my eyes. I didn't mention the knocking the next morning. Maybe I should have. Maybe that would have made things simpler. But I told myself it had to be the wind. Or some weird acoustic trick echoing off the canyons. I'd only just arrived, wasn't about to let paranoia make me pack up on day one. Besides, Mr. Granger was already sitting at the counter when I stumbled out, holding a chipped mug with "World's okayest boss" in faded print. He didn't ask how I slept. He just nodded to a small, leather-bound notebook on the counter. "That's the log. Keep it updated. Customers, deliveries, strange sightings. Doesn't matter if you think it's nothing. Write it down. Ink remembers better than we do." I flipped through the pages. The last entry was 6 weeks ago. July 19th, 3:14 a.m. Woman in blue dress asked for diesel. No car. No shoes. Didn't blink. Didn't cast a shadow. Logged refusal. She left southbound. Granger sipped his coffee. "You'll get your first night alone soon. Tonight, actually. I'll be gone before sundown." "Where do you go?" I asked. He looked at me like I just asked him what color fear was. "Off property," he said. "Only safe spot nearby. You'll understand soon." He stood, stretched with a groan that sounded more like cracking bones than effort, and started toward the back door. "Wait!" I called after him. "What happens if I don't follow the rules?" He paused mid-step. Didn't turn around. "You ever seen someone burn from the inside out?" He didn't wait for a reply. "Didn't think so. Let's keep it that way." The bell above the door jingled as he left. A cloud of desert dust followed him out. I was alone. The day passed slowly. A few cars. A couple tourists looking lost and sunburnt. One local who bought 5 scratch-offs and a Mountain Dew without saying a word. I started reading one of the old paperbacks in the back. Dean Koontz. Felt appropriate. When the sun started sinking, the world turned surreal. The sky went copper. Shadows stretched like they were trying to crawl home. The horizon blurred, and the gas station lights flickered as they turned on, even the ones I hadn't touched. The laminated rules sat next to the register. I found myself glancing at them more often than I cared to admit. 11:03 p.m. That was the cutoff for selling gas. At 10:58, a dusty pickup rolled in. Its headlights cut through the dusk like knives. The man inside looked normal. Tired. Pale. He stepped out and waved. "Hey! Need a quick top-off. Heading to Kanab." I hesitated. Looked at the clock. 10:59, plenty of time. I stepped out, grabbed the nozzle, and started pumping. He chatted idly. Asked if I was new. Told me he used to stop here with his dad as a kid. Said the place gave him the creeps even then. 11:02. Pump clicked. Full. "Appreciate it," he said. "I always forget about this place until I see the lights." He tipped an imaginary hat and climbed back into his truck. And then, he vanished. Not drove off. Not pulled away into the darkness. Vanished. 1 second he was there. The next, the truck was idling with the door still open. No driver. No footprints. No sound. Just his wallet still sitting on the passenger seat untouched. And the pump read 6.66 gallons. I stood there, frozen, as the desert wind picked up. Something in the night shifted, like reality just slipped out of gear. I backed away. Locked the station. And for the first time, really read all 12 rules from start to finish. My hands were shaking by the end. The next morning, I found Mr. Granger's truck gone. No note. No sign he'd even returned during the night. But inside the register drawer, beneath a roll of quarters and a folded map of the county, I found something new. A second set of rules. Not laminated like the first, this one was on onionskin paper, thin and yellowed, like it had been rewritten many times over. It smelled faintly of gasoline and sage. This one had handwritten notes in the margins, tiny annotations scrawled in faded red ink. I read it slowly, my thumb brushing over the uneven type. Some of the rules were the same. But others were new. Stranger. More specific. Here's what it said. Rules of Operation, Red Earth Gas and Rest Stop. Revised 1987, do not discard. No gas sales after 11:03 p.m. Not 11:04. Not 11:05. If someone insists, give them water and tell them the tanks are dry. No exceptions. If someone knocks but casts no shadow, do not open the door. If they knock 3 times, they're testing you. If they knock 4, they already know. Always restock pump number 6 at exactly 4:44 a.m. Use gloves. The nozzle retains memory. Skin contact risks. Absorption. If the payphone rings, answer only on the 3rd ring. If you pick up too early, it's still listening. If you pick up too late, it might be speaking as you. Do not look at your reflection in the station windows after dusk. Especially not during a windless night. It's not just light bouncing back anymore. Keep all receipts. Burn them weekly. Do not shred. Some entities ride the ink. Between 2 o'clock and 2:15 a.m., you may hear footsteps on the roof. Do not investigate. Do not acknowledge. They are not heavy enough to break through, yet. If the sky turns green, lock the front doors and turn off all lights. Customers who arrive during this time are not from a place you'd understand. Do not serve them. There is no pump number 9. If you see one, report it in the log immediately. And do not approach. If an old woman with a silver crucifix asks for salt, give her the whole container. You'll know her when you see her. She's keeping something out. Never, ever let the jukebox play track number 7. Unplug it if you must. The lyrics are wrong. The melody makes mirrors remember things. At sunrise, open both front doors. Let the wind pass through. It resets the air. If the air gets too still, things gather. Some stay. The final note, at the bottom of the page, was scribbled fast, like it had been added in a hurry. If you start seeing yourself outside the station, keep calm. Lock all exits. Wait until it looks away. It always blinks before it breaks through. I stood in the middle of the station for a long time, holding that paper, letting the rules settle in. Not just policies. Not even warnings. These were survival instructions. Instructions learned the hard way. And I'd already broken Rule 1. That night, just before sunset, I double-checked every light, every door, every bolt. I placed a box of Morton's salt under the counter. Put gloves on the hook next to the pump log. Turned the mirror around in the bathroom. The desert was humming again. And this time, it felt personal. The desert doesn't announce when something goes wrong. There's no earthquake, no thunderclap, no scream. Things just go slightly off. And then they stay off. Forever. It started the day after I read the second rules sheet. Just before my shift, I checked the pumps, standard habit by now. Pumps 1 through 5, all normal. Pump number 6, full. No leaks. But there was a handprint on the side of the tank. A child's hand. Small. Oily. Upside down. Pressed against the steel like something had hung from the bottom and left a message behind. I stared at it for too long. My breath started fogging in the August heat. The desert air, usually dry as bone, had taken on a wet chill, like something had opened a door underground and forgotten to close it. That night, 11:02 p.m., another vehicle pulled up. A station wagon, mid-80s beige, rusted edges like dead leaves. The driver didn't get out. Instead, he rolled the window down and held out exact change for $20 in gas. Didn't say a word. He wore a baseball cap pulled too low, and the radio inside was on, but all I could hear was static, loud enough to rattle the windshield. I looked at the clock. 11:02 and 57 seconds. 3 seconds until the rule kicked in. I hesitated. Then I stepped forward and took the money. Slid the nozzle into pump number 2. The station lights buzzed as the digits climbed. At exactly 11:03, the pump stopped. But the numbers on the display didn't freeze. They started counting backward. 19.75. 18.50. 16.10. I yanked the nozzle out. Gas sprayed in an arc across the pavement. The car door was still open. But the driver was gone. Not walked off. Not crouched behind the car. Gone. The seat was empty, but still warm. I checked with the back of my hand, just to be sure. I circled the vehicle. Looked out across the desert. Nothing. No footprints. No wind. No sound. But when I looked through the windshield again, the inside of the car was fogged with breath. From the inside. And drawn in the condensation on the glass, a message. Wrong time. Wrong door. I bolted the doors when I got back inside. Turned off every interior light. The rules didn't say what to do when you screw up. They just tell you not to. I sat behind the counter, sweating and cold at the same time, the back of my neck tingling like someone was staring from behind the cigarette rack. That's when the jukebox turned on. No one touched it. No power surge. No timer. It lit up with that warm amber glow, and started scrolling. Track 1. Track 2. Track 3. Then it froze on track 7. I was across the room before I realized I'd moved. ripped the plug from the wall with a force that startled even me. The music didn't stop immediately, it faded. Like it was being sucked out of the walls instead of silenced. I made the first real log entry that night. August 6, 2:12 a.m. Violated Rule 1. Man vanished. Car left behind. Pump reversed. Track 7 tried to play. Disconnected. Jukebox humming even unplugged. Feel watched. Handprint still on pump number 6. May not be alone here. I placed the log back in the drawer and turned toward the window to check the pumps one more time. That's when I saw him. Myself. Standing outside pump number 6. Same clothes. Same face. Only he was smiling. I wasn't. He raised one hand and tapped the pump twice, then pointed at me. And as quickly as he appeared, he vanished. No footsteps. No shadow. Just a puddle of black water left on the concrete where he'd stood. It hadn't rained in weeks. After the reflection incident, I didn't sleep for 36 hours. I kept the lights on even during the day. Burned a full pack of incense I found in the storage room just to cover the smell that was starting to seep into the station, a mix of cold iron, stale water, and something faintly burnt. At sunrise, I opened the front doors like Rule 12 required, let the wind sweep through. But the wind that morning was hot. Not desert hot, breath hot. Like something had just exhaled from beneath the floorboards. Around noon, a long-haul trucker came in. Big guy, leather skin, mirrored sunglasses, and a voice like gravel. He bought a coffee, 3 scratchers, and a can of chew. Paid cash. As I rang him up, he cocked his head. You the new watcher? Excuse me? He leaned closer. You're the one working nights, yeah? Place like this don't keep night shift unless it's still happening. What's it? He didn't answer right away. Just turned, looked out the window toward the open road and the jagged red rock horizon. You ever hear of the Loop Stretch? He asked. No. He grunted. Nobody does. And that's how folks like it. But it's real. He pointed east, past the dust trail where Highway 191 bends around a cracked mesa. 13 miles from here. There's a patch of highway that ain't right. Been there longer than the road, longer than the towns. They say if you hit it after midnight, your clock starts counting wrong. What does that mean? You'll drive for hours, but your fuel gauge don't move. Your GPS spins. Your radio plays songs you've never heard, but you know the words. And if you pass the same dead coyote in the road twice. He paused. You turn around. Immediately. Or you end up like my cousin Gary. Came back talking in echoes. Stopped responding to his own name. I swallowed hard. And the gas station? I asked. This one? He smiled, but it didn't touch his eyes. You think it's here for the people? I blinked. Isn't it? No, he said. It's here for them. The ones from the loop. The ones who slipped through wrong. He tapped the counter 3 times, slow and even. The old Navajo used to call this place Chichi-Altztu, first hollow of the long water. Said the ground here never healed after something cracked beneath it. I stood in silence, heart pounding louder than the humming freezer. He grabbed his coffee and turned to leave. Just before the door opened, he said one more thing. Watch your reflection. And if you see your own self smiling back at you at night, don't smile back. That's how it learns your teeth. The bell above the door jingled as he left. I stood there, frozen, wondering what he meant by learns your teeth. Until that night. When I looked in the window just after dusk, only for a second, and saw my reflection with a mouth full of too many teeth. The payphone never rang. Not once in my first 12 nights. It stood near the ice chest outside, its cord weathered, the buttons sticking slightly from years of desert grime. A relic. A placeholder for a time when the world still made sense. Granger had only mentioned it once. Don't pick up early. Don't pick up late. Only on the 3rd ring. I asked what happened if you didn't pick up at all. He just said, it calls again. Closer. The night it rang, the desert was dead silent. No trucks on the road. No crickets. Even the wind had curled up and left. The station lights flickered 3 times. Then the phone rang. Once. I stared at it through the window, breath caught in my chest. The sound was off, too full, like it wasn't coming from the speaker but around it. And it vibrated the glass. Twice. I moved toward the door. My hand was on the knob. 3rd ring. I picked up. There was nothing at first. No voice. Just the sound of wind, except it wasn't the desert wind. It was wet, like a coastal storm sweeping through sea caves. Then I heard it. My own voice. Ragged. Panicked. Distant. Don't stay. Don't trust the mirror. If it knocks twice and hums on the 3rd, don't answer. Static swallowed the voice. Then came the sound I haven't been able to forget. Sobbing. My own. Ragged. Desperate. It wasn't coming from the receiver anymore. It was coming from behind me. I turned around slowly, every muscle in my back locked tight. Nothing was there. No one in the station. But I still heard the sound, coming from the stockroom door. The line in my hand went dead with a soft click. I stood for a long time, staring at the phone in the cradle. Then I stepped outside and opened the payphone's coin return. Inside wasn't coins. It was teeth. 7 of them. Human. Molars and canines. One still had a bracket from braces attached. I dumped them into a coffee can, sealed it, and placed it under the sink. That night, I updated the logbook again. August 13th, 2:46 a.m. Payphone rang. Answered on 3rd ring. Voice was mine. Warning message. Heard myself crying from behind the door. Teeth in coin slot. Need clarification. Is mirror still safe if not in frame? Underneath that, I added a new line to the rules. I didn't know who wrote the others, but it felt right. Rule 13. If you ever hear yourself crying, but you're not, leave the room. Walk backward. Do not look behind you. I slept in the back room with all the lights on. The cot pressed tight against the fridge. The mirror in the bathroom had been turned to face the wall. But somehow, by morning, it was turned back around. And there was a handprint on the glass. Not mine. The mirror in the bathroom is nailed to the wall. No frame. No swing arm. No backing. Just silvered glass bolted into tile, surrounded by a faint brown stain that I once hoped was rust. I stopped using it the week the phone rang. That night, I shaved by touch. I'd turned the mirror around 3 times now. And 3 times I'd woken up to find it facing forward again. The last time, it had fogged. Despite the fact I hadn't run water. Despite the fact I hadn't been in the room at all. And in the condensation, written with a shaky finger. You blinked first. It was Rule 5 I kept revisiting. Do not look at your reflection in the station windows after dusk. Not mirrors. Not chrome. Not puddles. Just windows. So why did this one feel different? Why did this one feel like it was looking back? It happened during a routine closeout. I was restocking the cooler. The station was quiet. Just the soft hiss of refrigeration and the faint desert wind brushing against the walls. The mirror was behind me in the hall as I walked past the restroom. I didn't look directly at it. But I felt it, like heat at your back from a fire you didn't start. Something shifted. I turned just slightly, caught the edge of my reflection. Only, it didn't move. I stopped. And it smiled. Wide. Wrong. Too many teeth, like it had practiced smiling without understanding how lips work. Its mouth opened, but no sound came out. Just the motion. As if it were whispering underwater. And then, it waved. I backed away slowly. Didn't turn. Didn't blink. I remembered the trucker's warning. Don't smile back. That's how it learns your teeth. The hallway stretched behind me like a throat. As I reached the door frame to the stockroom, the reflection began to twitch. Subtle at first, then fast. Like a VHS on rewind, jerking and glitching. Its head turned upside down, jaw unhinging, and something small, like fingers, began pressing against the inside of the mirror. I slammed the door, pulled the wire rack in front of it, piled on boxes of windshield fluid. The sound of tapping followed me all the way back to the register. That night I logged everything. August 16th, 1:39 a.m. Mirror incident. Reflection moved independently. Smiled. Waved. Mouth opened without sound. Observed twitching. Attempted breach? Added weight to door. Will not enter restroom until further notice. I added another personal note, just beneath it. If I see it again, I don't think I'll be the only one left behind the glass. At sunrise, I opened both front doors. The wind that came through wasn't warm. It was cold and wet, like lake water pulled from deep underground. On the floor of the hallway, in front of the mirror, lay a single item. A toothbrush. Mine. Still damp. Chewed nearly in half. Doesn't work like the others. It hums even when it's off. It's never dusty. And it always smells wrong. Not gas. Not rust. Something older. Whetstone and old copper. Rule 3 was clear. Always restock pump number 6 at exactly 4:44 a.m. Wear gloves. I never questioned it. Until the gloves failed. That morning I was tired. Bone tired. I hadn't slept in days. The mirror incident, the phone, the reflection, everything was unraveling in my head like loose film. I slipped on the gloves like usual. Walked outside just before 4:44, the stars still burning above me. The desert silent, like it was holding its breath. I unlatched the maintenance panel on pump number 6. It opened easily, too easily. Inside wasn't machinery. Not normal anyway. It was full of paper, not mechanical parts. Stacks of pages crammed in behind the pump nozzle and hose. All torn from books. Schoolbooks. Journals. Some still had handwriting. One had doodles in the margin. And they were wet. Dripping. Before I could pull my hand back, my glove snagged on a twisted bracket. Tore. My bare hand touched a stack of soaked pages. And in that moment, I wasn't at the gas station anymore. I was underground. Not metaphorically. Physically. Standing in a dark, hollow chamber carved from red rock. The walls were damp. Inscribed with handprints, hundreds of them, like children pressing their palms into wet clay. A single tunnel stretched away from me. And at the far end, a shape. Tall. Thin. Watching. It stepped forward, but it didn't walk. It glided. It had no face. But it wore my name. Scrawled across its chest in shaky, ink-smeared writing. DVID. My name. My handwriting. And I heard a voice, not in my ears, but in the center of my chest. You've fed it, David. Now it remembers your touch. I gasped and yanked my hand back. I was back at the station. Kneeling next to pump number 6. My glove was torn. My hand was wet, but not with water. Black, sticky ink dripped down my wrist. I backed away. Slipped. Fell hard onto the pavement. The gas station lights flickered. Then flared, like something had passed directly beneath the building. I scrambled inside. Locked the doors. Washed the ink off with steel wool and bleach. It clung to me like it didn't want to let go. It took 43 minutes of scrubbing before my skin stopped buzzing. In the log that morning I wrote, August 17th, 5:12 a.m. Contact with pump number 6 stack. Glove tore. Vision episode, underground chamber, faceless figure, personal name identifier. Black ink discharge from pump interior. Ink sentient? I added a postscript in red marker. Rule 3 must be updated. Gloves no longer sufficient. Double layer or avoid contact. Do not touch pump interior. Ever. Then, in shaky handwriting I barely recognized as mine. It knows my name. That night, just before sundown, I stepped outside to throw the bleach rag in the trash. On the concrete, beneath pump number 6, Someone had written my name in black ink. 6 times. Each one shakier than the last. There's something ancient about a knock at the door after midnight. It bypasses logic. Goes straight to the base of your spine. It's not the sound, it's the suggestion. Someone, or something, wants in. The station was dead quiet. It always is around 3 a.m. That's the lull. The time when even the bugs outside stop singing, like they're listening for something worse. I was behind the counter, watching the security monitor, a grainy black and white feed of the pumps and perimeter. Nothing out of place. Until the screen blinked. Just for a second. And when it came back, there was a woman standing outside the front door. No approach. No headlights. Just appeared. She wore a blue sundress that fluttered even though there was no wind. Barefoot. Pale. She raised one hand. And knocked. Once. A pause. Twice. A pause. 3 times. My heart sank. Rule 2 echoed in my head. If someone knocks but doesn't cast a shadow, do not open the door. I checked the monitor. The overhead light above her was on, but no shadow on the concrete. None. Just her, and her dress, and the darkness coiled behind her feet like it had teeth. She knocked again. A 4th time. The rule never mentioned a 4th knock. Only that if it happened, they already knew. I stood frozen, staring through the dusty glass of the locked front doors. She didn't look threatening. She looked sad. Like someone left behind at the wrong train station. Like someone forgotten. She tilted her head and whispered through the glass. I couldn't hear her. But the words fogged the window. Each one written in breath. You let him pump at 11:03. You opened it. And then she smiled. Not wide. Not monstrous. Just knowing. Like she'd been waiting for this moment longer than I'd been alive. And then she stepped forward. Through the door. The lock didn't click. The handle didn't turn. She simply passed through, like the glass wasn't there. Like rules were for mortals. I stumbled back, grabbing the salt container from under the counter. Rule 10. The salt woman. But this wasn't her. This was something else. She stepped onto the welcome mat, her bare feet leaving wet footprints on the tile, prints that steamed in the cold air. David, she said softly. My name shouldn't have sounded like that. Like it wasn't mine anymore. Like it belonged to the room. What do you want? I asked, barely breathing. She cocked her head. Her hair hung limp like it was underwater. We only take what was given, she whispered. She reached into her sundress pocket and pulled out something small, dangling. My keyring. The one I lost last week. The one I thought I'd left at the diner in Price. Only now it had one extra key. Long black. Old. Not metal. Bone. She placed it on the counter, turned without a word, and walked to pump number 6. And as she passed through the door again, without opening it, I saw it. Her reflection followed half a second behind. And smiled wider. I approached the counter after she was gone. The bone key was cold. And it hummed in my palm. A note sat beneath it. Not handwritten, etched into the counter as though by heat. He smiled back. I locked every door. Flipped the closed, signed for the first time ever. Sat in the back room with the salt circle around my cot and the rule sheet in my lap, shaking. And for the first time, I added a question to the logbook instead of a statement. August 18th, 3:24 a.m. 4th knock. No shadow. Entered without opening. Left key. Is this still my station? Granger hadn't been back in 4 days. No texts. No calls. Not that either worked this far out. But he usually left something, a receipt, a new stack of logs, even just a fresh pack of jerky with a sticky note. Still breathing. Don't open pump panel. This time? Nothing. His truck wasn't in the gravel lot. His thermos wasn't behind the counter. And the keyring he always kept clipped to his belt, the one with the chipped compass charm, was hanging from the hook by the breaker box. Alone. I told myself he was just gone to town. Told myself he got tired and took a break. But when I opened the supply closet that night, looking for restock inventory, I saw the trapdoor. It hadn't been there before. I swear it. Just smooth, dusty plywood where we kept cleaning supplies and spare bulbs. But now, a square seam in the floor. Rusting hinges. A looped iron handle worn smooth with use. It wasn't hidden. It wasn't new. It was just revealed. Like the station had decided I'd earned a deeper look. I stood over it for nearly 5 minutes. The laminated rule card felt heavy in my back pocket. No rule about basements. No mention of trapdoors. But I remembered what Granger once muttered during our first week, half asleep at the counter after a long shift. Don't go where the air hums. That's where it opens. And the air here? It hummed. Low and deep, like something breathing through old stone. I opened it anyway. The hinges groaned dry with disuse, but the latch turned too smoothly. Below, a staircase. Stone. Narrow. Cut directly into the earth. And carved into the top step, in thick black etching. You've already descended. I stood at the edge and called out. Granger? No response. But I swear something shifted below. A sound like cloth against stone. Like someone turning in bed. I descended. The air grew cold by the 4th step. Wet by the 7th. And by the time I reached the bottom, I realized I wasn't under the station anymore. I was somewhere else. A cavern. Perfectly circular. Its ceiling dripping with condensation, but the drops never landed. They floated, like time here was on pause. In the center, a stone platform, and on it, Granger's coat. Folded. His compass charm laid carefully on top. But no Granger. Just footprints in a perfect circle around the stone, pressed deep into the dust. 6 sets. Barefoot. Small. Children. On the far wall, drawn in what looked like burned oil, was a mural. It showed the gas station. But older. Weather-worn. Wooden. With 7 windows, not 6 like now. Each window had a face. Each face had 2 wide eyes. And in the center, behind the counter, stood a man with no mouth. I backed out slowly, each step heavier than the last. Closed the trapdoor. Dragged the shelving back into place. And when I turned to leave the closet, there was a note taped to the inside of the door. Scrawled in red marker, clearly by Granger. If you're reading this, I'm part of the Foundation now. Do not follow them. You'll only forget your own name. In the logbook that night, I didn't know what to write. So I just wrote. He folded his coat. He knew. And then I added a new rule. Rule 14. If the floor opens, do not descend. You're not built to remember what it shows. I told myself I wouldn't go back. After Granger's warning. After the note. After the coat folded like an offering. I told myself that was enough. But Rule 14 hadn't existed until I wrote it. And some rules aren't warnings. They're bait. 3 nights after the first descent, the trapdoor opened on its own. I heard it creak from the back room, as if the station were clearing its throat. At 4:44 a.m., the same moment I was meant to restock pump number 6, I stepped into the closet again. This time, there was no resistance. No dread. Just the hum, louder now. Like the earth was breathing through its teeth. The stairs welcomed me. There were new footprints this time. Smaller. Deeper. Some overlapping mine from before. I followed them. But the cavern had changed. The circular chamber was larger now. The ceiling farther away. The condensation drops moved backward, flowing up into the rock like rain in reverse. And the mural, it was moving. Not alive, exactly. But shifting. The faces in the windows blinked now. Their pupils followed me as I walked around the stone platform. Each pair of eyes knew me. One had my face. At the back of the cavern, something new, a tunnel. Narrow. Cracked. Etched with glyphs I couldn't read but felt in my ribs. I followed it, holding only my breath and the penlight on my keychain. After 20 steps, the ground leveled out. And there, beneath red earth gas and rest stop, I saw it. The desert. But not the one above. This was a mirror desert, underground, endless, lit by veins of dim red crystal that pulsed with something like a heartbeat. Stone mesas floated above cracked canyons. Wind moved with no source. And in the distance, dozens, maybe hundreds, of structures, rising crooked from the sand like broken teeth. Towers. Altars. Fossils shaped like buildings. And something tall, impossibly tall, watching. It had no face, but it was shaped like a man. Long limbs. Hollow eyes. And it was wrapped in receipts. Thousands of them. Spinning like paper caught in an endless gust. Some had writing. Some had names. And one of them, I swear, had mine. It turned slowly toward me. Not walking. Realigning. Like the world bent beneath it. And in its chest, a pump nozzle. Pump number 6. Plugged into its sternum like an umbilical cord. It exhaled through its jawless face, and I heard a voice, not through my ears, but in the back of my skull. You refilled me, David. You've honored the tide. Now I rise. I stumbled backward. Tripped. Fell. My light snapped off. And in the total darkness, I saw 7 glowing forms surrounding me. Children. Smiling. Flickering like mirages in a broken projector. They each held an object. A compass. A coin. A mirror. A key. A tooth. A bone. A folded coat. They said nothing. But I felt their meaning, pressed into me like weight. You've gone too deep. The desert remembers everyone who leaves footprints. And it never liked being paved over. When I woke, I was back in the supply closet. My shoes were wet. My hands were stained with ink. And in my pocket, no phone. No wallet. Just a receipt. One line. No date. No price. We're climbing now. That night, I added to the log. August 21st, 4:44 a.m. Descended again. Entered cavern, discovered mirror desert below. Entity tied to pump number 6. 7 watchers present. Receipt left on body. Receipt speaks. And in red marker. Rule 15. Do not follow the footprints. They loop back into you. I stopped keeping time after that night. The clock above the register spun on its own now, hands stuttering in place like they were deciding whether to move forward or back. Sunrise came late. Or early. The sky outside sometimes held stars at noon. I didn't ask questions anymore. Because I knew the answer. The rules were no longer keeping me safe. They were keeping everything else in. I stopped hearing trucks. Stopped seeing customers. But the pumps kept ticking. Numbers rolled on their displays, gas purchased by nobody. And the register printed receipts every hour on the hour, even when untouched. Each one carried a name I didn't recognize. But one morning, I did. David. Followed by 7 letters. Exempt. The next day, I opened the logbook, and every page was blank. Even the pages I'd filled. Even the red ink. All gone. In its place, a single line, scratched into the leather cover from the inside out. Your time here is not being recorded anymore. And then the station began to change. One night, the salt container shattered on its own. The broken glass spelled out a word I couldn't translate but understood viscerally. Invited. The mirror didn't fog anymore, it reflected other rooms. Rooms we didn't have. Sometimes it showed a man behind the counter wearing my face, but older. Tired. Calm. Waiting. The jukebox played on its own, even unplugged. Track number 7 sounded like children humming underwater. I didn't turn it off. I sat. And listened. And I understood. This place was never just a gas station. It was a threshold. A binding site. A lung for the desert to breathe through. And I was its new heartbeat. A week ago, maybe longer, I found a second trapdoor in the stockroom. It had no handle. Just a keyhole. The bone key the Shadow Woman left finally made sense. I haven't used it. Not yet. But I've started writing the new rules. Not for me. Not anymore. For whoever comes next. They're scratched into the wall beside the payphone, sealed beneath resin made from salt and desert sap. They read: Revised rules, red earth gas and rest stop. The mirror will show you where you're going. Don't ask it what you've seen. If a second you arrives, let them work the register. You need the break. Track 7 is a lullaby. Cover your ears if you don't want to sleep beneath. The children only count when you're not watching. Pump number 6 must never run empty. It's thirsty now. If your reflection smiles, it's offering terms. Burn all receipts except the ones with names you forgot. Don't count the windows. It lies about the number. The trapdoor under the trapdoor is not yours. If a pale woman in blue asks for your name, give her a fake one.